So yeah, now I think we are live. Um, so
Woohoo, we're live.
yeah, people must be watching us already. So we were what we are doing here, right? We were inspired by the Shaping Davos experience that some shapers decided to participate more in Davos. So these guys created some sessions, about 10 sessions, called Shaping Davos, where they had physical panelists in Davos talking to global shapers all around the world in 40 different cities. It was an amazing experience. I've been to a couple sessions and it was really, really nice. We really have to congratulate Murray, VJ, and all the hubs that participated, all the team that made it happen. And inspired by that, we decided to create the Sharing Davos experience. So we want to share our what happened in Davos, the Davos experience, with the other shapers, the ones that were not there, and between ourselves. It is organized by us. It is completely self-organized. It is not yet official, let's say. So if one of you has something to complain to us, not to Wadia. Okay? Wadia, we know you are here. We know you are out there. So complain to us later. Okay? First of all, I want to thank Liz, Mary, Osama, and James, Barrett, and Angelica for taking the lead and making it happen. We are going to chat for around 30 minutes about what we saw in Davos. And I would like to encourage people to comment on the video because I'll try to speak less, let these guys speak, and I'll try to have a look on the comments to see if they have questions or anything like this. First thing, I would like you guys to present yourselves in 30 seconds, who you are, where you're from, and why you decided to join this crazy call today. Liz, you want to go first?
Hey, hi, I am Liz from Davao Hub. So I'm a global shaper from Davao Hub. It's been a pleasure to be with you guys. The 49 of you are so awesome. Been a pleasure to be with you guys in Davos. Why did I join? Why not? I mean, to be with the most amazing bunch of people who are still drunk and high from all of the fun, the friendship, the learning. I can see a lot of you still talking, and it is very inspiring to hear not just stories of projects, not just stories about creating impact, but also the personal ones, updating what you're doing, you're having breakfast, you're having a run. I mean, it's a great way to create an impact, not just in our own local hubs, but most especially to the rest of the world. So I hope that this initial conversation that we have will spur more action in the future. I want to highlight more the importance of being friends with everyone, friendship first, before the actual, making change, because I believe that the heart of everything is what prevails, and I think that's what makes us stronger as global shapers, the relationship that we've built around each other. So there. Who's next? I want to give it to Osama. Go, Osama.
Yeah, okay. So, Osama from Rabat, Hub, Morocco. I'm joining this initiative because what's happened in Davos shouldn't stay in Davos, and we need to go further with what's happened there. And also, I think we're a big family now, and we should like to go to make more impact than what we had to make in Davos, and we have like to work to work on something tangible to deliver things according to what we learned there. Mary?
Hi, I'm Mary Galletti. I'm a global shaper from the Washington, D.C. hub, and I serve on the Global Foundation Board of the Global Shapers. And I think why I'm joining is because Davos is exciting. Sure, it's 5 days of intense, 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. experiences, but the more interesting and inspiring stuff happens outside Davos, and happens, together around the world. And so I'm just really looking forward to building out relationships and, as Liz said, and figuring out some exciting next steps and next adventures.
Perfect. So I'm really, really excited to be here with the three of you because you might not know this, but you are maybe three of the people that taught me the most in Davos. We had really, really beautiful experiences there, and I'm really happy that you guys decided to take the lead with me and the other people to make it happen. My view is that Davos is a really individual experience because you miss 99% of what happens there. I mean, there are 300 sessions. I only attended maybe 20 or 30 or something like that, and thousands and thousands of meaningful conversations, and you only get a few of them. So I want to share with you what is your view, and I mean, what is your individual experience in Davos, and how we could build together a collective view about it. And my first question, I was really surprised to come back to Brazil and to see the TV reports and to see the highlighted words they had. So I want to know what are the words that you heard the most in Davos, and what, like, the concepts, the specific topics that you heard the most and that you think make the biggest impact there for you. Mary, you want to go first?
The biggest impact for me?
Yeah, I mean, what are the words you heard the most there? You know, what are the concepts that were more discussed in your individual experience?
The thing that I heard the most was about, are we in a crisis of leadership, and what does that mean? And in fact, I attended a debate on that very conversation. And I think the thing that I found most interesting about it is, I wonder if it's not time to sort of redefine what leadership means, what power means. And I don't know exactly what that looks like, but it's an interesting conversation in particular to have with shapers. Because if power means the ability to influence, the ability to get things done, then I think it is fundamentally changing. And I find that potentially really exciting. I also noted how many leaders, people who we would define as leaders, heads of universities, heads of state, ministers, politicians, CEOs, were excited to meet with us and have conversations with us, which leads me to believe that keeping some form of dialogue going amongst ourselves is probably a really wise choice.
That's really powerful. Much more intense than the Brazilian TV reports. Osama, what about you? What were the things that you heard the most?
Yeah, for me it was more about the big idea behind this meeting of this year is the new global context, and I was like surprised that one of the most important topic for all the leaders all over the world is now the stability and the security, and I think this is something that helped me to understand more how our leaders, mostly in my region, I'm talking about Europe and Middle East, things and see the future of the region. And I think I learned a lot about this discussion about the leadership, how the leaders are involved in the main population concerns and how they see the future. I was also pleased to attend some debates between different leaders from different orientations from political background, the entrepreneurial background, and I saw this main idea going around all the time is about the stability, the importance of the stability for the world, and the importance of the stability to build economy, to build security, and to build a better future for mainly for my region, but also for all over the world. So I think this is the main idea I learned from my experience in Davos, but also, of course, I learned a lot of things that, yeah, I will be pleased to share in our next calls.
Perfect. Liz, what about you?
Yeah, I heard a lot also about security and stability, but on top of that, I heard more about innovation. So there are lots of sessions talking about technology, about a different way of doing things, and I appreciate the effort of being inclusive. There are lots of sessions where they were talking about reaching poverty areas, areas that are unbanked, third world countries, or areas that are not yet in line with a different advancement in technology. I appreciate that a lot because coming from a community that needs a lot of help on how to get on board, for example, alternative power, energy resources, mobile banking, using technology for health, for medical health for different communities. I appreciate that these different leaders are considering an investment on these kinds of things. And so that's one of the things that I learned. It pays a lot to invest on development. It pays a lot to invest on innovation and being inclusive. You cannot have a successful world or successful economy where only a few really benefit. So these are the things that I saw that I like that are being discussed in Davos. I appreciate the attempt to tackle these issues, but I personally think that we are still not yet at that point where we are really getting there, if you know what I mean. I think the topics in Davos that are talking about innovation, inclusiveness, including the bottom of the pyramid are good, and I think it's a good start. But there still has to be a lot of action towards really driving that to make it happen. I remember one session where I attended. It was the BBC World Debate. The world is getting richer, but for whom? That's the question in the debate. And the host of the session asked the audience. He said, "Can I get a show of hands for those of you who think that the 1% of the population is giving more to the world, net contribution, giving a contribution to the world? Can you please raise your right hand? And for those of you who are doing a net extraction from the world, can you please raise your right hand?" And I observed that almost everybody believes that the 1% of the population is giving more or is a net contributor. And maybe I think that's good in a sense, but we have to also weigh that balance and really make sure that results happen in the grassroots level. Another thing that I appreciate about Davos is that the topics and the sessions were so varied that you have a very wide selection of where you go to. I mean, there is health, there is arts even, so there are even sessions on how to make art and leadership go together, how to be responsible in your art. I came to Davos thinking that this was more a business, more or less a business discussion, but I was surprised that there was a lot of heart too. You know, so I thought that it would be just about economies, systems, technologies, etc. There are lots of sessions that talk about faith. They talk about heart. They talk about motivation. They talk about these things, which makes us very human. And I think, in a nutshell, those were the sessions that really stood out for me.
That's nice. It's amazing. Because when I came back, the first thing I saw on TV was people saying, "Yeah, everything they talk about in Davos this year is reform, reform, reform." And I was like, "What? I didn't hear this word at all. Maybe in the Congress hall, in the when the Prime Minister is talking, blah blah blah. But it's 1% of what happens there. And for me, I think the thing that I heard the most was growth. How can we get back on track of growth, economical growth, etc., which is a little controversial in my opinion, because how we are growing, this could be more discussed. And also, I heard a lot about leadership, and I agree with everything Mary said. I think we attended a lot of sessions together about leadership. She was moderating 2 or 3 of them, which was really, really nice, really a surprise for me. And I think there is a big sense that the world is in crisis. We need leaders to tackle this crisis, but not necessarily the business models are in crisis, and there's no sense of urgency. So it's like, yeah, we are, like you said, all the 1% giving a net contribution, good enough. And yes, we are on track. The world is in crisis, but we are already tackling it. So a lot of big guys, when I talked about this, a lot of big CEOs and government people, they answered me the same thing. They said, wait 20 years, wait 20, 30 years, and you will see. But if we are in crisis, I think we should act in a little more strategic and tactic and walk the talk a little bit more, and act now, not wait for the next generations and these weird millennial creatures that they always talk about in the sessions, these weird young people, 20-something, they're doing something in the world and they will change it. The time is now. The economic crisis,
Yeah, I agree.
social crisis, the environmental crisis is really, really deep, and maybe we are not tackling it we don't have the sense of urgency that I thought I would see there. For me, this struck me a lot. So I don't agree with the reform thing. I didn't hear that a lot there, but it's really nice. My last comment is it's really nice that each one of you talked about one different item in the pillars of the agenda. Because the first pillar is crisis and cooperation. So I think Mary talked a little bit about this. And Osama talked about the second pillar, growth and stability. And Liz talked about the third one, which is innovation. And the fourth one is society and security. So I think so maybe I think the program was well built in this sense. All the pillars were relevant in some sense. And okay, so this is what you heard the most. But my second question is, what were your like the topics you were pursuing the most? Because at any given point, there were 3 or 4 very interesting sessions happening in different topics. And what were the topics that you wanted to pursue? Like there's one in technology, another one on tackling poverty, another one on health, another one in climate change. What are your main topics? What were the things that you were trying to see more there? Osama, you want to start?
Yeah. I was more interested in also innovation and also a collaboration between public-private sector. So I was attending several sessions about this subject. Because I believe this is the future of the world, is to combine the efforts of the public administration, but also the entrepreneurs. So I attended 3 private sessions related to that. One about collaborative innovation for it's a forum project for Europe. So I was kind of one of the outsiders of these sessions. But it was a really good learning for me in terms of how Europeans do to ensure a good collaboration between all the sectors to deliver innovation. I was also attending a session for related to my region, the Arab region. It was more about the collaboration between companies and a second level the companies with the public sector. I think I was a little bit disappointed about this what happened in this session because it wasn't really delivering any good value because all the participants were like stuck in their position and trying just to defend their point of view. So this is also was a good learning for me because I saw like clearly what I need to do in my region to ensure that we can collaborate together and build something together. So I think was yeah, the main session for me.
Nice. Mary?
I think so. I'm really interested in these two things that sit in tension with each other, right? The first is that we are, by all accounts and all statistics, in the most peaceful time in all of recorded human history, right? And we're in the wealthiest time, the most distributed wealth in all of human history. And there's an aphorism I like a lot that's the future will be great, but the future isn't evenly distributed. And so the tension that exists between we are a world in crisis and climate change is a real problem and there's deep instability, but also we are in the most peaceful time in all of human history and the wealthiest time in all of human history. And I certainly don't feel like we're in the wealthiest or most peaceful time in human history, right? Like you read the news headlines and how do you feel that that's true? I found that really fascinating and provocative. So I was particularly interested in sessions that were really focused on the future and futurism. So on demographics, on resiliency, on technology and our relationship as it's changing to machines, or even in the context of our own health, and how we make those innovations increasingly accessible, right? There are a lot of places in the developing world where they've had the infrastructure leapfrog, where they've skipped the whole landline phone thing or the internet via wires and gone straight to wireless. So what does that look like in the context of some of these other major innovations to improve global quality of life? And the thing that I found the most interesting of that whole track that I guess I sort of self-created was the number of times I heard something where we feel like things are as bad as they are because we actually get to see what happens to people. We get to watch the stories in real time on Twitter, on Facebook, and we get to be outraged about it in real time. And we don't just get to be outraged about it in real time. We get to expect reasonably that someone can do something about it in real time. And as an American sitting amongst on this Hangout all non-Americans, feeling that tension of what does it mean when I, as a human being, do something, what does it mean when I want something to be done, what does it mean when I, as an American, want something done in the world, in service to a good future or a better world. I don't know. I'm still wrestling with those ideas, but it's been interesting thinking about, I guess, the future and when do we all become citizens of the world as opposed to citizens of the United States or citizens of Brazil or citizens of wherever. It's not a very well-formed thought. It's still baking, but.
And it's really interesting because just to provoke you a little bit, we come from really different realities.
Yeah.
Here in this call we have like someone from America, Morocco, Brazil, and Philippines. So it's completely different realities. So, and I personally think when they say we are in the wealthiest time, we are in the peaceest time, it's a very Europe-centric view of the world. In South America, we had, maybe not so peaceful times.
Right.
We have well-structured society a long time ago that had a different relationship with nature, a different relationship with leadership, with themselves, and of course, the life expectancy was smaller. Wars were happening, but I don't, I don't know because like society really changed 500 years ago for us, and for Europe it's like a developing thing in the last thousands of years, whereas it's not. So how do we create this global agenda, this global speech, if we are not yet a global society? You know?
It's so that's the whole thing about even distribution, right? So
Yeah.
statistically speaking, there's basically statisticians that did this. Statistically speaking, there are fewer people dying through violence, through war, through genocide, through all of these things now than ever before in human history. But your point still stands, right? It does feel Eurocentric, and that's the whole bit about even distribution, right? And the other piece is we actually see it, right? So when there's civil unrest in some village I've never heard of, I see it and I feel it and I empathize, right? And you see it and you feel it and you empathize, and suddenly we're having a different kind of conversation, and our outrage is coming from a different place. It's not a, oh, that's too bad when you read about it in the newspaper 3 weeks later. And so I think that's going to spur some of this global conversation, but what comes of it, I don't know. And I think that's going to be really interesting to watch unfold.
Liz, what were your topics that you were trying to attend the most in Davos?
Top things. I was on the lookout for topics that talk about collaborative partnerships in between different entities within the private sector or even government to private sector. So I was actually on some of those. There was one private session that I attended. I think Osama was also there. We were with different leaders of the private sector and of the government as well. Some prime ministers were in the room. And we had a very intimate discussion on how policies affect the way the social entrepreneurs, tech pioneers, and startups are actually performing in an economy, and how policy can help them, and how the private sector can help them, achieve that kind of growth. It was very interesting for me because lots of the development in my community and even in other communities, other countries that I see, come from the startups. So the innovation, the new ideas, some radical, things that we do. We heard about sharing economy. Those are from the startups. Those are from the new entrepreneurs. So how can we make the private sector, civic society, and the government support the growth of these startups? Because you might not know they might be the future of that development that growth that we are trying to hit on. And then there was this one point that was raised, which says, how does an organization that is already big and established adapt with all of these changes that's happening in the market, in policy, etc. And how are we going to support the startups? Is it venture capital? Is money always the issue? I mean, if we say, let's support the startups, let's make the startups grow, is money the only answer to that? I mean, does the discussion always start with where do we get the funding, who do we get as angel investors, etc.? And then we talk more about skills and entrepreneurial values, and that mindset that gets you going. I mean, there's just 1% of entrepreneurs really making it. So where do we have this intervention? Is it in school? Do we start very young and orient the minds of people to be entrepreneurs, and these are the value systems? Or do we offer a more comprehensive package of helping them get licensing, helping them get trademarks? Where do we actually put the help? Where do we actually start the help? And who are the actual people who can really get this going and build a culture of nurturing startups, nurturing entrepreneurs? So that those sessions are very interesting for me. Another was sessions on gender parity, on women
Maybe you
empowerment,
should
on
that
empowering
list.
young people, empowering women. It was interesting because there was one private session that I attended. It was about women empowerment. There were 20 participants in the room, so it's a private lunch, and there was just two guys, two men, who are actually discussing about women's issues. And I appreciated it very much when one of the CEOs said, you know, these issues should have more men on the table.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't be that there is 18 women here talking about how to empower women, and there are two guys joining the discussion. And what's most peculiar about that session was we got to hear the views of the women who are in developing countries like Africa. I mean, how are they managing households? How are they managing their kids, and how does it translate to their entrepreneurial value? I mean, do they qualify as entrepreneurs given that they have so little decision making in the home, so little decision making in the income? Because the conversation again started with funding. I mean, that's the start of the discussion in women empowerment. We should give women more money so that they can start more businesses. But these women from Africa were saying, no, let's not start with money yet. Money is good, but the core fundamentals to get a business running, that's what we're missing. We don't have the scale. We may not know what to do with your money. So these are what I think are blind spots that are raised in the forum. And I appreciate this very much because we can go on and on making different solutions to things, but if there are blind spots, that are very crucial, and if we leave them behind, it can spell disaster later on. So those are interesting for me. And the last thing that was really, it's even one of my Davos moment. It's in one of the top 10, is when we had a meet the leader session, and we were asking a lot about, how to do this and that, how to do this and that. And this one leader said, do not teach people how to read and write if there is no paper. Do not teach people how to read and write if you will not give them paper. And I think that opens a very, a very unique perspective of, wait, we have to make sure that there is paper first so that the person can read and write. So if we're going to make solutions on the table, if we're going to bring innovation in the table, we have to make sure first that there is an enabling environment for all of these solutions to happen. And I think those are the things that I can clearly remember that are very, very interesting.
Let me just make a check here. Osama, are you there? Because you appear here as two different accounts. Are you still with us? Okay, I think we lost one shaker.
Yeah, we lost him.
Mary, you are there, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So yeah, that's really, really interesting what you're saying about women, gender parity, and equality, etc. Because as we know, we all were there. Only 17% of the people were women in Davos. Yep. And you have representative issues for a lot of different groups. One of these groups is youth. I mean, I don't know if you felt like me, but every single session I attended, every single panelist talked about youth, talked about the young generations, how they will create an impact, etc. And let's be true, we are not sitting on the table. We were there, and I really, really appreciate the opportunity to be there. It really helped make sense of this crazy world we live in. But it was funny, sometimes I wanted to raise my hand and say, okay, I'm right here, you are talking about me, and you're talking about me as a weird forest creature that is out there eating the world alive, So let's talk more frankly and more directly. Um, these are really interesting issues, really interesting blind spots. I think you put it really well, these blind spots in the discussion. Because a forum makes a really big effort and a good work on putting different sides on the table. So you always had different views in the panels, but you still have blind spots, and we have to admit that, and we have to tackle that, and we have to talk about it. This is really important, really nice. For me, surprisingly, the things that I tried to attend the most were about ethics, leadership, collaboration, and poverty. And really interesting topics, really interesting views, especially on ethics. The first day, I was the whole day in sessions and discussions about ethics, ethical leadership, etc. It was really interesting to see the the environment that was created there, the ideas of those world leaders, and I only had one question in my mind that I asked as many CEOs as I could was, okay, we are talking about ethical leadership, but and some people talked about taking risks. This is ethical leadership. But I was asking them, what are you willing to sacrifice in order to make the world a better place? You know,
It's a
and
big question.
this was a really interesting question actually, because half of them never thought about it. They were really surprised that I asked it. And but the other half had really interesting views. Most said they didn't need to sacrifice anything, but they were really interesting views actually, and really good examples. So I'm really glad that this first day gave me this insight, this idea, and I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to talk to big guys about this. And well, as I said, I think we don't have the sense of urgency, but these guys they are not only fat cats smoking cigarettes, discussing how to destroy the world, you know, as some of us. It was clear that it was not about that. And okay, so we have to wrap up. We said we would discuss for half an hour. Um, I have two really small and simple questions. Okay, first of all, are you more optimistic or pessimistic about the world, about the future after Davos? And second, can you give one tip, just one tip, for the next Davos 50 group, for the next group of global shapers that are going to Davos? What do you have to do to enjoy this experience the most? Mary, you have the word.
Ooh, I'm optimistic, but I tend to be optimistic anyway. I think I think too many really decent people have really good intentions and are too willing to work together. You just have to be able to connect with them. So I'm fairly optimistic. And as for my tip, I think the best advice I got that I use often is to I know what it is. It's to make eye contact when you're talking to someone. It's so tempting, particularly when they're when you perceive them to be very, very formal or very, very high ranking, to not make eye contact because you don't want to. I don't know. It just feels or you do the Davos glance, which Liz just demonstrated. But like when you're having the conversation, even if they're a head of state, even if they're a major CEO, whoever they are, to keep making eye contact. I mean, don't stare at them, don't be creepy, but like it makes such a difference. It makes such a difference, and nobody really does it. Sorry, I'm taking too long, but that's my advice.
No, I really agree. And just to comment on that, on the second day, I found out about the badges, what each badge represented.
Yeah.
And it ruined me for a couple hours, you know, because I was looking for the badges. And when I realized, I was like, no, forget the badges. I don't want to see the blue dots anymore, you know. I just want to talk to people, normal people, whoever they are.
It's true.
Yeah, this blue dot is terrible. Okay, Liz, are you more pessimistic or optimistic?
Very optimistic. I mean, I cannot be, at the beginning, if I am by myself, you know, I'm a mix of both. I'm like a bit pessimistic and I want to be optimistic. So I try to build that I have to be optimistic. But when I looked at the 49 of you guys and you were all like pumping energies, I want to change the world. Like I have to throw away by being pessimistic. It doesn't make sense to be pessimistic. You know, when there are a lot of challenges that has to be met, there are a lot of challenges that has to be addressed. You cannot have time to be pessimistic. So I am very optimistic. Also, not just because of the 49, the rest of the Davos 50, but also because I see that it is practical and it is very feasible that change can happen, that we can do something, that we are not just voices put in the table. About the other question, advice. Okay. If you have to sum up what you do in just one sentence. If you're asked, Teo, how about you? What do you do? Make sure that it is a one short, brief sentence, and then end it with a question. Throw it back. In the beginning part of the week, I sometimes get lost in explaining what I do, and 30 seconds has passed and I've eaten up much of the conversation. So make sure that you're clear what you're doing, sum it up, very brief sentence, end it with a question, throw it back to the person, and don't look at the badge. Don't look at the badge. Just have your moment of surprise later on when you see that person in the panel or when you see that person, you know, mentioned very especially. So have your private little Davos moment right there. But on interacting with people, be confident and yeah, don't worry. As our community managers have said, Wadia and Antonio and all of the rest of the people, there's a reason why you're in Davos. Don't look at it based on net worth, net assets, because yeah, you will really be, you know, shocked and amazed. But look at it as you were given an opportunity to be in Davos because your voice is needed, because it is relevant. 50 young people in the forum
Sure.
does not really raise the percentage of youth representation, but it creates a very, very big impact in the forum. And you can see that in every day, even in the parties. You know, man, in the parties, like that, if there were no value your presence in the forum.
Teo? I just want to add one more quick line, and that is be somebody else's Davos moment.
Sorry?
Yes.
Be someone else's Davos moment.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah. For those who are not in Davos, there is this weird concept of Davos moment. At first, I thought it was really weird, this word, you know, this concept. But it is real. Like, in the end of the week, you are thinking, what were my Davos moments? And you have plenty. Yeah, be someone else's. I agree. Be generous. About what Liz said, just one comment about summarizing. A guy came to me and asked, what do you do? And I said, I have a social business to drive impact in the sharing economy. And he said, what is social business, what is impact, and what is a sharing economy? Okay, I need 3 minutes now. So really summarize, really learn how to do it. Am I optimistic or pessimistic? I will answer my own question. I'm very hopeful, very hopeful. But I don't know if I can say optimistic, because I really think we have to ring the bell. We have to, and in Davos, I think a lot of people thought I was really pessimistic because I was trying to stand, like I was trying to make a point. I really believe we have to make deep changes in the model, otherwise we are going to hit the wall. Every one of us together will hit the wall. And I think we have to ring the bell, but I'm really hopeful that we can, that we have time and we have human power to do it. I'm really hopeful, but we have to work. We have to put ourselves to work. And one tip, I think we use the word, I have plenty of tips, but I think the biggest one is we use the word opportunity a lot. And I think for us, it's really easy to see this opportunity as a business opportunity. It's an opportunity to meet important people, powerful people, people that have money, that can invest on you, invest in your business. But as I see it, Davos is an opportunity to make sense of the world and to influence these guys. So don't be afraid of provoke them. Don't be afraid of standing, of having weird ideas and thoughts. People are really willing to listen. People are really open there. So provoke them and use this opportunity to influence Davos as well, not just to exchange business cards. That's my tip. That's my advice. And drinks lots of water. Okay, so girls, we have to finish. Osama said his internet is not working. I want to thank a lot everyone that is commenting. There are lots of commentings from Andrea, Sanjana, Lore, Leandro, a lot of shapers from Brazil. I've seen here Pedro, Julia, Lohana. So I really want to thank you. Everybody is commenting. They have their private discussion in the comment sessions, commenting everything we talked about and asking themselves other things. I wish we had much more time. I think now is the time that we discuss. I mean, everybody that's watching this and us that participated, we have to discuss this format, this model. Does it work? It should be quicker. It should be bigger. It should be more people, less people. How it's going to work? Because then we can release this to the world and really share this experience and really make the world participate in Davos and the youth participate in Davos much more than just the 50 that were there. Okay, so let's use this weekend to criticize, to compliment, give new ideas, and next week we start for real. We start for the world. And Wadia, we know you are there, man. Don't hide. Okay? So, you want to add anything else, girls?
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Yeah, have a good weekend, and let's continue talking.
Yeah. Let's continue. Let's keep it going. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you later, girls. Bye-bye.
Bye, Teo.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.